my calendar is right. I think it's the third Wednesday of May, isn't it? So we always do a third Wednesday chat with, I got it right now. So I used to say Waukesha by mistake. It's Washington County's county executive. He's laughing because I did this like a couple times.
You said Waukesha?
Yeah, even I know it's Washington, but it's a W. They're not that dissimilar.
Well, I would be able to tell the difference.
Well,
I live right down the street from Washington County. I can drive to Washington County in like 5 seconds.
But you're not in Washington County.
No, I'm in the neighboring Ozaki County.
Yeah, which is also nice.
Yeah.
So Josh joins us to talk about issues. One of the great things that I've tried to do this year on the show, in my spreading of sunshine, telling the real story.
He's exhausting.
See, this is what Carol does to me. But we want to tell stories, local stories,
sure, that
have much broader implications. And on this one, Josh, it's housing. You told me a great stat during the break. Available single-family homes, Washington County.
10 under 300,000.
Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
That's it?
10 total, the whole entire county that aren't contingent, that aren't pending. 10 in the entire county.
Where exactly in the county? Are they all spread out, or are they kind of clustered in an area?
The majority, plurality of them are in the city of West Bend, but there's a couple in Hartford. I think there's one in Jackson. I don't think there's any in Slinger.
So the issue is, right, the critical issue, affordable homes, any place. That's why this has a broader appeal, including in Washington County. So we're going to bring a guest on in the second segment who kind of knows of what she speaks, a realtor in your area. But from the county executive position, what can you do?
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? I mean, I think this really, you got to break it down and figure out how did we get to this space? And it really boils down to two main things that are kind of the same thing. The federal government and local government have really regulated away the ability to build the starter home. So the baseline is that 1,100 square foot ranch style house on a quarter acre lot that, most Americans grew up in, those can't be built in most places anymore.
So a listener might ask, why is that?
Federal government regulation and local regulation. So local zoning codes have largely regulated that away. Lots have to be much bigger than a quarter acre lot. Houses have to be much bigger than 1,000 or 1,100 square feet. Federally, the federal government used to, through the Federal Housing Administration, finance developers to build these neighborhoods. They got out of that business in the 80s. Banks used to do it. Then the crash happened in 2008. That got regulated away. Now nobody's financing them. So either a developer himself digs deep in his pocket and takes all that risk, or nobody does it. And developers right now are saying, look, I've got more customers than I could dream of who want to build $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses. I'll go make money there, and it's left this gap of the starter home that is the American dream.
Are you seeing, because you are so short, 10 homes, that's nothing. That's such a little handful. Are you seeing that a lot of the homes that were up for sale are getting gobbled up by people fleeing other counties, like getting out of Milwaukee County?
Yeah, I check Realtor.com almost every single day just to kind of keep a pulse on what's going on. Those houses last generally somewhere between 6 and 36 hours, depending on what day of the week they get posted. They are gone lickety-split. And when I talk to realtors, I'm sure Amy Curler, who will join us in a little bit, can confirm this, but they're on for a short period of time, and there's a bidding war that's happening, and $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 higher than asking. All the stories you've been hearing. No contingencies, no inspections, all of that jazz.
Yeah, you're just buying the house as is, which is risky because a lot of anybody who has an older home knows there's a lot of things can go wrong, and then the new homeowner thinks they're getting a deal. Well, you might not be getting a deal. We'll bring in Amy after the break. But from the county executive space, from your position, what can leaders do? I know that the move, because I was a local leader. You love these big lots, the big homes. It's sexy. It's attractive. It makes your city look cool. But there's a lot of folks who don't have that level of income. They don't need a home that big. Might be 2 people. Might be 1 person. They don't need a house that big. We have to do something. What are you guys doing?
I think there's a couple things. Since it's the government that's created this situation, I think that the government can solve it. So one thing is we can provide gap financing. We do it for industrial projects, commercial projects all the time. We can help finance these types of neighborhoods being built once again, and that's one thing we're doing with a program I call Next Generation Housing. We're providing financing to help developers develop and then make a project shovel ready for builders to build. The other thing we can do is work with local governments and try to get them to allow for these types of homes to be built again. Change zoning codes, change regulations, change permits, change fees. We've had progress on both, but it's been slow because this is government. And now you've got multiple levels of government trying to work together. So there's lots of things that I think we have room for improvement. And in Washington County, I feel fortunate that we have enough collaboration between local governments that we've made some progress. We had a groundbreaking in the village of Jackson about 2 or 3 weeks ago for a subdivision exactly like this. We have not had as much success in some other municipalities. They're struggling with where exactly does this type of housing go. We haven't done this in 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
That'll be the challenge moving forward. But, out of the 3 pilot projects we started, we've got one that is breaking ground, and 1 out of 3 if you're a brewer, puts you in the Hall of Fame. So I feel pretty good about that.
The thing is it's not only the housing, but you have to sell the community too. I've been to, I know people that live in Jackson, and I've been to Jackson. I've been at that park where we've had cookouts and things like that, but it doesn't have that sexiness that some other places have. So it's kind of tough.
It is super tough. And when people hear governments getting involved in housing, they immediately start thinking Section 8. They think about public housing. They think about vouchers.
There's a stigma that's been on.
Total stigma. Yeah. Affordable housing is a 4-letter word. And you'll get people come out in droves. So when we say, no, this is about building the home that you probably grew up in, that is for the young person. I mean, imagine having a situation where you've got all that bidding war going on. If you're just in your first career, you don't have cash to do that. So it's a huge challenge.
We got to take a break here, joined by Washington County Executive Josh Schoemann. Amy Curler's going to join us. Well, let's get a realtor perspective on this real-life problem every day happening around you, not just in Wisconsin, everywhere. The other big problem is big corporations buying up the housing stock, which doesn't help the situation either.
Huge issue.
Cutting through some of the nonsense that we have to deal with in this country. One of them is the housing shortage. When you're talking about a affordable single-family home, not a lot of space, but a starter home. As County Executive Josh Schoemann told us, there's 10 available right now in Washington County. So let's talk to an expert, subject matter expert. It is Amy Curler, who is a realtor who joins us on the phone. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Good morning, Steve and Carol. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So from someone who lives this every day, what the county executive is saying, this is real life. There is not a lot of affordable homes out there for people to get started with.
This is real life. This is our life on the streets, as we would say, every day. We have buyers who would love to buy houses, and there is nothing for them to buy. So we are really in a housing crisis, and particularly the workforce housing, or as Josh is working on, the next generation housing. So you guys have been talking a lot about the 10 houses available, and I just popped on live on MLS, and it's down. It's 4 houses in the Washington County area.
Which is amazing.
And those, 3 in Hartford, 1 in West Bend, they range in price from $240,000 to $299,900.
So let me ask you this, Amy. So again, real life, real time. When people come to you that are looking for maybe an older, small, let's say 1,800 square feet, or what the old standard was 1,550 or something like that. I think my original home was about that size, and now it's 2,500 because I added on to it. But when you have people asking about that, what do you tell them?
We tell them they're going to be in it for the long haul, because there just is not that type of housing available. And when it is available, we have multiple offers coming in. Obviously, when there's only 4 houses to choose from and more than that buyers, you're in a situation where you're in competition, and it's tough. And, they really, really want to buy a house. And this is, your standard buyer. For instance, I have my own buyers that I'm working with. I also manage the First Weber office in West Bend, so I see this, on a big scale, and I'm on the board of directors for the Wisconsin Realtors Association. So our pocket is tough, but it's kind of across the whole state that we're feeling this. So my buyers, I have one who is a police officer, and the spouse works in the trades. They would love to live anywhere in Washington County, and they've been looking for over a year and a half.
Wow.
And they have I think we have written offers on 5 different houses where they did not win. And now we finally just got one. We got one, and we're going to close this month. And they did have to write, $18,000 over asking. So it's tough.
Okay, let me ask you about when you do find a house like this, it's probably an older home like Steve was talking about, right? So in addition to the getting into the bidding war and things like that, they also have to tackle like renovation and the costs of that. I can't imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we are as realtors not advising waiving home inspections, but some are. And, there's tools that we have where if they're still having a home inspection where they may agree to take on a certain dollar amount of those repairs because they're doing that to make their offer more attractive. So yes, they're definitely taking on repairs and renovations. And in some cases, they're even waiving home inspections.
Which is not a great idea.
No, it's not a great idea. We want to know, what's there and what the product is that they're purchasing. So we don't recommend that. And again, we do have some tools that we can help them write strong offers and get their offer accepted, but avoid some of that risk.
So how do the realtor community help local leaders, local communities solve this problem? I know you're working with the county executive. How are you part of that equation?
So one of the things that we're really seeing out there in the legislative field is what we call the acronym is NIMBY, not in my backyard. And so when these new developments, the one that Josh particularly is working on where it would be affordable housing in the $300,000 price range, then when the project is nearing completion, the neighbors come out and say, wait a minute, not in my backyard. We don't want this. And it's really putting a hampering because some of those local boards and trustees then, even though all of the hoops have been jumped through and the red tape, stacks up and we could build this, they're caving. They're saying, okay, wait a minute, there's opposition. Maybe we don't want to approve this. So we really, really want the local governments to say, hey, if everything is in line with our in-place regulations, go ahead with this. I mean, we need to not cave to some of that opposition because the need is so great. And yes, everybody's afraid of change, but the housing that we're looking at building, it's nice, new, affordable housing, not low-income housing, and that's what scares them. Like Josh had mentioned earlier, they're imagining low-income housing and maybe, housing that would fall into disrepair at some point in time. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at good housing like you and I grew up in or our parents grew up in.
Yeah, and county executive, this is really where the leadership comes in. One, you have to change that mindset that these are undesirable. These are starter homes for people, great members of their community, future members of their community. People are moving in from somewhere else, and many of them have great jobs, and they'll raise their families in their community. That's where you come in.
That's right. And I think you start by telling stories. You ask people to reflect on what they grew up in, what mom and dad had, what they grew up in back. Think post World War II. What we built, the little salt box Sears Roebuck houses, right? It's not something we haven't solved before, but it's been a long time. And so I think what I'd like people to leave today with is thinking about this. If this generation, my generation, I'm a millennial, I'm the oldest of millennials, and Gen Z can't buy to get into homes, what are they going to do? They're going to rent. They're going to live with mom and dad. And if they're renting, they're giving that money away forever, right, to a landlord, and they're not going to get back.
That's my daughter.
Home ownership is the greatest
That's my
generational
daughter.
wealth builder in America.
We've gotten away from that.
We have gotten away from it, and it's a problem. I mean, that's going to create a lifelong problem, not just for them, but their kids and their grandkids. That's a shame. We can't allow that to happen in this country, and we need to do something about it. It starts with local leadership.
Yeah, and that's why I have you on the program. Third Wednesday conversation with Washington County Executive Josh Schoemann, Amy Curler, a real life realtor, walking around doing the tough work every day. Not enough homes out there.
It's just okay. Two things for me coming out of this whole conversation. One, I'm really glad that I have a home, and two, I'm seriously now considering selling my home.
Well, as a seller, you're in good shape, right, Amy?
Yes, for sure. And, the sellers really are in good shape. I know sometimes they'll have fear, like, where am I going to go?
Yes.
And we see that being an obstacle to getting the inventory going as well. But they are in good shape. They certainly have a lot of equity right now, and they have choices. And we see a lot of people who are willing to sell and move because a lot more work from home or virtual situations. Mm-hmm. So they don't necessarily have to stay in place. They can move around a little bit freer. So, yes, why don't we put your house on the market, Carol? Let me know.
All right, you guys can handle it off air.
Yeah.
Amy Curler, realtor, First Weber, I think I heard you say, right?
Yes.
All right. County Executive Josh Schoemann. Great segment.
It's fascinating.
And I love to see
really
local leaders doing smart stuff.
He's now home, Josh.
Yeah.
Home
he went from 10 to 4 in 15 minutes. Thanks to you, County Executive Schoemann.
Thanks.
Amy Curler, thanks for joining.